All right, let's look at page 10. We'll probably do all the way 1 to 10. That's what your homework is. So find each sum. Here we have -5 plus -1. So we have counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's -5 plus -1. How many counters are there? There are 6 total counters. Do the counters represent positive or negative? They're red, so they're negative. And we have 5 negatives plus 1 more negative, and that gives us -6. On to number 2. How many counters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do they represent positive or negative? They're red, so they are negative. And 2 negatives plus 7 negatives gives us 9 negatives. All right, moving on to 3. Model each addition on the number line to find each sum. So we're starting with 5 negatives. And we are adding 2 more negatives. So we're adding 1, 2, which makes this -7. 4. -1 plus -3. So we start at -1. We're going to add 3 in the negative direction. 1, 2, 3. And that gives us -4. So 1 negative plus 3 negatives gives us -4. Moving on to 5. 3 negatives plus 7 negatives. So we start at 3 negatives. We move 7 more negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we end with 10 negatives. 6, we start at -4. And we add 1 negative. And that gives us 5 negatives. So we have 4 negatives plus 1 more negative gives us 5 negatives. Now 7. -2. We start at -2. We add 2 in the negative direction. 2 negatives plus 2 negatives gives us 4 negatives. On to number 8. We have 6 negatives. That's right here, because this is counting by 2's. This would be -2, -4. This is -6. This one is -8. This would be -10, -12, and this one is -14. So we have 6 negatives. We're going to add 8 more negatives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have, we're still negatives. We have 6 negatives plus 8 negatives. We have 14 total negatives. Now on to number 9. So we have 5 negatives plus 4 more negatives for a total of 9 negatives. 10. We have 1 negative plus 10 more negatives. We have a total of 11 negatives. And let's just finish these just because we feel like it, because we're on a roll. We have 9 negatives plus 1 more negative. 9 negatives plus 1 more negative gives us 10 negatives. We have 90 negatives plus 20 more negatives. We have a total of 110 negatives. 13, we have 52 negatives plus 48 negatives. So we have 52 plus 48 gives us 100. Now on to 14. 5 plus 198, these are both positives, so 5 positives plus 198 positives gives us 203 positives. Now we have 3 numbers here. So 15, we have -4 plus -5. 4 negatives plus 5 negatives is 9 negatives. and then we need to add this negative 6. 9 negatives plus 6 negatives gives us 15 negatives. And here we have 3. So we have 50 negatives plus 175 negatives. So you would do 175 plus 50, because they're both negative, so you just add them up. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12, and that's 225. Negative 225 plus negative 345. Then you go to the side and do 225 and 345. So we have negatives here, negatives here. We just add up the negatives to see how many there are. So this would 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2, 1, and 4 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. So these are all negatives, so the answer is negative 570.